The Senate Special Committee on Congressional Redistricting will come to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
Senator King.
Here.
Senator Creighton.
Here.
Senator Alvarado. Senator Hinojosa.
Present.
Senator Hughes.
Here.
Senator Miles.
Here.
Senator Parker. Senator Paxton.
Present.
Senator Sparks.
There being 7 members present, a quorum has been established. The purpose of today's hearing is to lay out a bill and to hear public testimony on that bill. If you intend to provide verbal testimony or would like to register a position on the bill, please register at one of the kiosks located behind the committee hearing room. We're going to, because of the number of witnesses today, we're going to limit testimony to 2 minutes, but you're likely to be asked questions by some of the senators, and if you are, that time certainly doesn't count against you, and the senators can ask as many questions for as long a period as they wish. I'm going to close registration at, we'll do it an hour after the committee hearing begins, so let's call it, we'll close registration at the kiosks at 10:15 this morning. Members, just so you'll know, registration was opened at 8 a.m. Today. To ensure that everyone will be heard in a timely manner, we will ask 4 witnesses to be seated at the witness table at a time. So I'll call your names, and I may let you know ahead of time that you'll be in the next panel if I can pull that off. Any member of the public may also submit written comments and attachments to the committee via the public input portal. If necessary, we will take a 5 to 10 minute break every few hours so that members can stretch their legs. And also just want to mention, if you see a member get up and walk out, please know that it's not an indication that they aren't interested in what's going on. We have to take a quick break on occasion too. And if they have to go back to the back room and grab a cup of coffee or for the restroom, the audio plays back there as well, so as well as the video, so they'll know everything that's going on when they step out. Members, I know that there's a number of you may have some comments today. I'm certainly available to answer any questions when we lay out the bill. I also will reserve some time. I'm hoping we can take the bill up for vote today, and if we can, I'll certainly reserve time at the end for you to make any closing remarks that you wish to make at that time. If we have no committee amendments on file for today's hearing, we also have some overflow room, and if we end up needing that, I'll announce where those are at. And with that, I'm going to pass the gavel to Vice Chair Creighton. And again, I want to thank everybody for being here today.
Okay, thank you, members. At this time, the chair lays out Senate Bill 4 and recognizes its author, Chairman King.
Thank you. And members, the layout's a little bit longer on this than we normally do in committees, but this is such an important issue. I'd like to, with your patience and grace, go into a little bit more detail. I want to thank all the members of the committee who are in attendance today, and we're all taking time away from home and family and business and everything for the special session. The purpose of this layout is to provide an overview of the bill for the committee and for the public. And just a little context of the special session: on July 9th, Governor Abbott called this special session, which began on July 21st, 2025. The duration of the special session is 30 days. All the topics of the special session are set by the governor, not the legislature. One of the topics for this special session is congressional redistricting, and of course that's the subject matter that we have before us today. House Bill 4, HB 4, was introduced in the House on Wednesday, July 30th, and was passed out of the House Committee on August 2nd, 2025. Note that today we are considering the Senate bill, which is a companion, which was filed by me on Monday, August 4th. So the House bill and the Senate bill are identical at this stage. It is the chairman's prerogative to set a schedule for review of the bill under our Senate rules. My goal is to complete redistricting within this 30-day window offered by the current special session. Now, there's been a lot of activity on the House side, but we today are focused at our job at hand for the Senate, which is to address the bill before us. Now, I want to take a moment to discuss the public input we've had on redistricting. I want to take us back to 2021 because all of the data that we will be using and are using for this redistricting process is from the 2020 census data. So since 2021, the Senate has held 21 regional or public hearings, and the House itself has had many additional hearings. I think they actually had some in 2019, I think 14 regional hearings in 2019. Now, these hearings have given the legislature an opportunity to hear the public's concerns about the 2020 census data and about redistricting in general. This plan, as I said, is based on the 2020 census data. 4 Senate regional public hearings and 1 additional public hearing, specifically for invited testimony, have been held during this special session. And let me comment a minute on those regional hearings. We divided them up regionally. However, anyone was able to testify on any portion of the state at each hearing if they desired. But we had the South Texas and Central Texas hearing on July 25th, 2025. We had the North Texas hearing on July 26th, 2025. We had the East Texas hearing on July 28th, and the West Texas, which included the El Paso area, on July 29th. Over the course of these 4 public hearings, regional hearings, we heard from 205 individual witnesses. We had 205 people individually testify before this committee. And as we were utilizing virtual testimony and live streaming, we had approximately 3,852 clicks to the Senate live stream that were recorded. In other words, at over 3,850 times, people entered in to watch the hearings online. Testimony included invited witnesses, the names of which had been given to us by the Senate Democrat Caucus chair, and sitting members of Congress. Congressman Mark Vesey testified, as well as Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher, Sylvia Garcia, and Congressman Al Green. We provided the opportunity for the public to provide testimony by remote means, as I mentioned, and sessions were held on Saturday and after hours. We were aware that some people might be prevented from participating due to a long drive, the long distance obviously from Austin if we had the hearings here, or by work or family obligations. And so we did this in this virtual fashion so that as many people as possible could offer their input. And we had just that. We had people testify from all over the state. It was interesting how many people said, "Thank you for doing this. I'm down in the RGV today," or "I'm some other place and I couldn't be there," or "There's a House hearing that I wanted to attend and couldn't get to," or I went to the House hearing and wasn't able to testify, so I appreciate y'all doing this today so I could do this without driving again to Austin. In addition, on August the 6th, the Senate held, this committee held a hearing for invited testimony, and we invited the following interested parties. Again, these were names that were given to us at our request by the Democrat caucus chair, and many of these testified during our teleconference hearings. Nina Perales with MALDEF, Gary Bledsoe with the Texas NAACP, Ellen Katz with the University of Michigan Law School, Michael Lee with the Brennan Center for Justice, Niyati Shah with the Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Leah Aiden with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Luis Figueroa with Every Texan, Ramon Palomares with LULAC, Tenias Chavez with La Union del Pueblo Entero, and also we invited the entire Democrat congressional delegation. Again, this was all for the August 6th invited testimony hearing. This hearing was held specifically because there were comments at the regional hearings earlier that a map was not available on which to testify, and so we wanted to give these interested parties and stakeholders a specific opportunity to come and testify before the committee on SB 4, on the bill before us today. We held that public hearing yesterday with, as I said, over a dozen invited witnesses and all of the Democratic congressional delegation, but they all chose to either decline the invitation or not respond at all. So today is we're here for the public to testify, which is another reason I wanted to bifurcate, to separate these into two hearings, invited testimony and public testimony, is because I didn't want you to have to wait 2 or 3 hours until invited testimony would be over, as we had seen happen in the House, which wasn't their fault, but I just didn't want you to have to wait a long time. During this special session, we also reopened, actually I think before the session began, the public comment portal, through which any member of the public may provide comments and present documents. As of noon yesterday, we have received 3,668 public comments through the public portal. All of these public comments are being and will be distributed to the committee members, and we are in the process of making these available to all senators and the public on the Senate's website as soon as possible. We've been processing about 400 of these a day, and my staff's not crazy happy about that, but it just takes a while to go through them. We have to redact personal information. We don't want to make it, if you've filed something with the portal, we don't want to make your personal email or phone number or home address or anything like that available to the public. So we're having to go through each one of those that comes in. We're doing about 400 a day, and we're trying to redact, black marker out your personal information. But those are being made available to the committee and will soon be available to all the public and all the Senate members. Now, that brings us to where we are today in this laying out this bill. And I want to take just a moment, if I may, to discuss redistricting history and some principles and legal standards. I believe that I'm correct in saying that redistricting has been addressed during special sessions of the Texas legislature as far back as at least 1871, when they did school district redistricting, and then they did congressional redistricting in a special session in 1882. This also includes special sessions in the past 6 redistricting cycles. They did redistricting in special sessions in 1971, 1981, 1991, 1997. That was actually for the education again, Board of Education. In We did special session redistricting in 2003, 2011, 2013, and 2021. The 2021 was delayed because the census data did not come out until the Senate had adjourned in its regular 2021 session. So we had to come back and do redistricting in the special session. My point is, the legislature can choose and has chosen many times to redistrict during a special session. And we can frankly, lawfully, and by precedent, redistrict at any time the legislature so desires, including mid-decade, as we are today. And the states have very broad authority. All states have very broad authority. This is recognized by the courts under the U.S. Constitution and its election clause to choose when to do redistricting. Now, the U.S. Constitution requires that congressional districts be drawn with population as close to equal as possible to achieve the one person, one vote standard. We have some flexibility when we're doing House and Senate maps, but we do not with the congressional districts. This standard is from this one person, one vote standard, is from the Supreme Court's 1964 decisions in Westbury v. Sanders and Reynolds v. Sims. It's also grounded in the 14th Amendment and Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. So, for our purposes of this map that we're considering today, the ideal district size is 766,987 in population. SB 4, I will tell you, meets the one person, one vote standard. Now, please also note for any of the senators on the committee or the other senators in the body, please also note that any amendments that would be presented in this committee or on the floor must meet this same population criteria as well as all other legal criteria. Every proposed amendment here or on the floor, the proponent must be able to demonstrate that their proposed amendment meets these legal requirements. So please be prepared to discuss that if you have I think it'll be floor amendment because we don't have any amendments filed for the hearing today. Now, a little bit about the legal basis for district design. The area of redistricting law is robust, to say the least. I've consulted with our legal counsel, and I am confident that SB 4 complies with the law in all regard. The House came to the same conclusion with HB 4, our companion. Therefore, starting with the position that our map is legal in all regard, I've tried to focus on two major issues. My first objective in adopting the House map and presenting this map today, my first objective is to create a plan that elects more Republicans to the U.S. Congress. In contrast to the complications involved with race-based redistricting, political performance, in this case, my objective of electing more Republicans to the U.S. Congress, is a permissible basis for drawing electoral districts. This was recognized by the U.S. Supreme Court in Rucho v. Common Cause and in, I guess it's pronounced Vieth v. Jubileer. Those were 2019 and 2024 cases, respectively. My second objective, and the first was to elect more Republicans to the U.S. Congress. My second objective, and I'll admit I wasn't initially intending to focus on this, but we, during the public testimony, heard repeated comments from citizens that districts weren't compact, meaning that there were so many districts that were irregularly shaped, oddly shaped. Now, districts that are drawn to be compact tend to aid in representation because they avoid the risk of distant communities being being united when they may not have everything in common. And I'll mention my Senate district. I have urban Fort Worth and Arlington, and then I also have rural counties, one with only 4,000.
Just take it away
the districts
from
are
her.
different, and the needs are different.
Take this away.
Excuse me,
And-
what color do I look like, people?
Am I, does that mean I'm done?
That's your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your testimony to each of you. Members, any questions? Everyone has their
This girl's
time.
kicking me, you see?
Make their statement.
Miss O'Brien, thank you for your testimony today. Despite what you would, thank you, Miss O'Brien.
I tell her, I'm a senior citizen, what you doing kicking me?
Miss Jensen,
Senator Miles.
Brother Levi.
Hold your,
Her name is not Miss O'Brien, it's Miss Jensen.
Miss
Her
Jensen,
name
I'm
is Miss
sorry.
Jensen.
we've cleared
I'm
it
sorry.
up for the record.
Miss Jensen.
Hold a second. This panel is excused. You're excused. Thank you for your testimony. Members,
To the kids.
members, are there any questions? Senator Miles has a question. I believe he wants to visit with Witness King outside the hearing room. Thank you both. At this time, we'll call forward Nicholas Wan. Is Nicholas still with us? And we're going to call additional witnesses. So please be prepared. If you're in an overflow room, please pay attention because we're moving quickly to make sure we can get to all of our witnesses as they have travel plans and certain accommodations. Gary Bledsoe, please come forward. Mr. Bledsoe. Sarah Cinco.
Mr. Bledsoe. Did he walk out? He may have left. That's okay. He was out. He may have left.
Is Miss Sarah Beck with us today? Please come forward. John McKiernan Gonzalez, please come forward. Sir, can you tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Nicholas Wan.
And ma'am?
Chrissy O'Brien.
Chrissy O'Brien. Got it. Great. We'll begin with you, Miss O'Brien.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in opposition to SB 4 today. My name is Chrissy O'Brien. I'm representing myself and AFSCME. The American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees represent public employees around the state who provide critical services our communities depend on. I am speaking up for our members today, many of whom could not be here. They are at work. AFSCME represents working members and retired state employees who reside in the areas that are being targeted in these maps. SB 4 stands to weaken their voices and threatens their access to fair representation. I ask you to please consider their rights, the impact this redistricting will have on their communities. I urge this committee to oppose SB 4 as these maps stand to weaken the voices of working people. Finally, I ask that you use this special session to prioritize more pressing needs facing Texans. Thank you.
Appreciate that testimony. Sir, please begin.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Wan. I want to thank you all for being here today. I am from Nassau Bay, part of the Houston area in the 36th Congressional District. It is incredibly concerning that there is even talk of redrawing congressional district maps. No census was conducted, and 2020 maps are still being reviewed by federal courts, so why are we here today? The proposed maps are an insult to Texans across the state. You can easily say that the maps before today and in 2021 are not racial discrimination and colorblind, but effectively they are discriminatory, and lawmakers must look at racial data to ensure minority communities are not negatively impacted by the redrawn lines. At some point, you can't deny reality any longer. What matters are the results of your actions collectively as a legislative body. If the maps are drawn to keep as many minority-majority communities without proper representation and give even more power to white majority communities, then it is a major issue and the reason for the massive contention. Which brings us to another issue. If the DOJ has directed the state of Texas to redraw the maps, under what purview is it done? Is this so-called racial gerrymandering the actual reason, or is it giving carte blanche to cut up the major cities to further diminish the representation of our black and brown districts? Why does my district span halfway across the state to the border of Louisiana? Citizens furthest east have very little in common with the residents of Nassau Bay. You have had the opportunity to fix this to properly represent the citizens of Beaumont, Jasper, and Cleveland, in turn to properly represent me. It seems to me that the Republicans of the state of Texas are putting party before country. I've seen over the years gerrymandering to consistently favor Republicans and white voters who tend to vote more for Republicans. As legislators, it is imperative that you represent all Texans, regardless of what you, the governor, or the party think of them. But you all know that the rhetoric and the capitulation of the Republican Party of Texas to the federal government would make the likes of Stalin and Kim Jong-un blush. The maps are inherently authoritarian and the exact opposite of small government. If you cannot win these districts on merit or policy, the only solution is to hold on to power, is to cheat, lie, and push the boundaries of lawful and ethical behavior. I am embarrassed that this special session is putting so much time and effort into redistricting and other trivial matters over focusing on actual, impactful, meaningful issues. Ultimately, districts need to represent the people living there, not split a community in half and include them with hundreds of thousands of other Texans halfway across the state. Let the federal court rule on the 2021 maps and try to have some decency and humility with how you conduct legislative business, as to not harm and lessen the representation of some Texans you don't like and increase the voting powers of others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Members, any questions? We have Mr. Bledsoe. Mr. Bledsoe, please come forward, and we will proceed with your testimony, sir. Thank you for being here and your patience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I submitted written testimony. I don't know if you have questions. I think the point I want to make is it's very clear to me that this is a process that doesn't really have integrity, because I think that the people have not been heard. The map does not reflect what the field hearings revealed. And with the timing of the map, it's very clear that the map had already been drawn.
Yes, sir. Right there, would you restate your name for us?
Gary Bledsoe, President of the Texas NAACP.
Got it.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thanks, Senator. Appreciate it. So therefore, I think I'll stand on the statement, but I'm really saddened here as a Texan that I come in front of you today, and I see what I feel is an overtly racist map, a map that seems to take us back in time to time when people who look like me did not have representation, that our bodies were used to count for members of Congress, and you take away 2 or 4 congressional representatives for people of color and or African American in this state, and you actually the 3 people who would probably lose their positions here under this map are people of color, 2 African Americans and 1 Latino. It's really sad that we're here. So this is not about anything other than race and the continuation of what's occurred in our state. We do know that many years ago, white citizens in our state went to the United States Supreme Court 5 times in 26 years to stop black people from being able to have a vote in our state. And that's really tragic, and this is nothing but a continuation. And I will say this, it occurred under Democrats, and it continues to occur under Republicans.
Thank you, sir. Members, any questions for these 3 witnesses? Senator Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just got a question for Mr. Bledsoe. And so it's really a point of clarification, Mr. Bledsoe. Explain to me what a minority opportunity district is, and then second to that, tell me what the ability to elect district is. There's two different kinds, okay? And I'm going to make sure I get a definition from you, and then I'm going to talk to my chairman about it.
Senator, you asked one of the most important questions, because in the litigation that we are involved in now, and in the litigation from the last decade, it became very clear, and the court rulings that actually exist now describe, for example, the 9th, 18th, and 30th as opportunity districts, or ability to elect districts. So those have a certain level of protection that others do not have, and the same with the 29th. And so that DOJ letter mischaracterized the nature of those districts. They are not coalition districts. And so, as Professor Katz said the other day, if someone had submitted that as part of a project in her class, she would.
Let me stop you right there. You helped with the litigation to make those, to create those districts, correct?
There was litigation.
So you would know.
Directly involved in.
You would know.
Courts held that these are ability to elect districts, and the experts for the state acknowledged under oath,
Right,
okay, that they were ability to elect districts.
right.
And I might even say with the 33rd, the whole issue that was raised in the letter, the DOJ letter about the 33rd, had already been answered. It was a court-drawn seat, so Congressman Veazey's seat was drawn by the court. And with Congressman Veazey's seat, they said this is not a coalition seat. This is a naturally occurring seat as allowed by Bartlett v. Strickland, and this is what this is. But people wanted a way to go after the black and brown seats, so they mischaracterized them. And so when you go forward today, you'll know and you'll understand you're destroying seats that have the highest level of protection, okay, under
In the land, in our land, in our country.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you're stating today to this body that the DOJ letter obviously did not take that into consideration, or they wrote it wrong.
They clearly wrote it wrong.
They wrote-
I don't think they understood it, to be very honest about it, and they completely mischaracterized the Petaway case.
Gotcha.
Those coalition districts are just very different. Coalition districts are legal, though. That's the other thing that they got wrong. They're not illegal. You can't be obligated to draw one up under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in the Fifth Circuit now, though other circuits disagree. But the United States Supreme Court has never decided that particular issue.
Okay. And the other, the ability to elect district.
Okay.
Same?
And those are the same as the opportunity seats. And so those are the ones that are given the highest priority, because you don't need to join with any other group, that your group has the power to be able to elect people in that district. And so that's what's protected. People are mixing up the Jingles 1 standard in terms of trying to bring that into some constitutional standard about, and as if that black people can only have a seat if you have 50.1. But if 45% of whites can elect a candidate of choice, they can have a seat. Right. But black people need 50.1, which is absurd. That's not true.
And to your knowledge today, has there been any legislation or any laws changed in the federal government that would change the position or the protection of these two seats?
No.
No.
Nothing has changed. They're clearly opportunity seats. And in the current litigation that we're now involved in, Senator, the state has acknowledged in the current litigation.
Right.
So I don't know how the state's going to defend this map.
Right.
When in the litigation in El Paso, they said these are opportunity seats.
Correct.
And so now all of a sudden there's something different that can be just torn away and taken from the minority community.
So our Voting Rights Act that's been watered down over the last couple of years, they didn't affect these two. They didn't affect these two, did they?
No, the cases that I mentioned all come from Republican majority panels. So these weren't Democratic panels or what have you. These are three-judge panels that had African American, that had Republican majorities on them that held that these were opportunity seats. And I'm saying that Ken Paxton's office has acknowledged that in the litigation.
Okay. And just last question, just for clarification, to your knowledge, there is nothing that has changed in any laws that you know of, the protection of these two of these seats?
No, they still, none of the recent Supreme Court cases touch on that issue.
And the DOJ letter addressing these, in your opinion, would be something, an illegal act?
Oh, it's inviting you to do something that's illegal. So to the extent that you attempted to comply with the act,
Right.
The act invites you to do something that's unconstitutional.
Okay. So can I change my direction to the question to the chair, to the author of the bill?
Senator Miles, you're recognized.
Thank you. Senator King.
To question Senator King.
Senator King, you've told us time and time again, that you would, whenever you got a bill, that you would scrub the bill for its legality. Am I correct?
Yes.
You told us that multiple times, that you would scrub the bill for its legality and to make sure that it was right by all laws of the government? And did you do that before you submitted? I think you stated earlier today that you did that before you submitted SB4.
Yes, before I decided to file SB4 as a companion to HB4, I asked that it be reviewed thoroughly by our council. They reviewed it, and I understand the House Council had also reviewed it, and both concluded that the map was legal with regard to all applicable law.
Can you hold right there, sir?
I'm holding.
And you hear the statement from the author of the bill. What did you say to that?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things that was very disturbing in the litigation was that, in the past sessions of redistricting, Senator, the Legislative Council was much more involved. And the Redistricting Committee in 2021 did not avail themselves in the same ways of the assistance of the Legislative Council. And the Legislative Council in 2021 put out a guide, and it was a guide for redistricting. And in that document, it tells you the level of scrutiny that you must undertake and what you must do to avoid adopting maps that cause dilution of minority votes. That's in there. But I think what's occurred is they've used outside counsel, and with methodologies and things that we don't know, whatever they use, because they use attorney-client privilege and things of that nature to prevent us from knowing what they're actually doing. So we don't know what mechanisms they used, but the bottom line is that anyone that knows that these are protected seats would agree with us that you couldn't do this. And anyone who would agree with the DOJ letter must not understand the applicable law, because the DOJ letter is fundamentally wrong. So there is no way that would be legitimate advice. But the problem is, Senator, I don't know if they would reveal to you what methodologies they used, the private individuals or law firms that were put together, but they clearly have violated all, there's so many of the traditional redistricting principles and how the map was put together. I mean, for example, you take people away from their home districts. You eliminate, so 3 African-American congresspersons, all 3 were removed from their districts. That's one of the things that the D.C. courts held was problematic last time for the state when they did that. So they do the same thing again. And so you look on and on about the different things that they have done, and they should know better because of what's actually occurred. So these are clear examples of intentional discrimination and going forward, with an agenda. And so you heard the terms packing and cracking. You look at the 9th, you look at the 18th, you look at the 29th, you look at the 33rd, you look at the 30th. It has been 32nd. They've been packed and cracked like nothing else, and the 35th was destroyed as well. And so, and they're done with the purpose of diluting minority votes, and you cannot do that. The United States Supreme Court is still upholding the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution. We've had the Milligan case recently. There's some success in the case out of Louisiana. So I think that we still have a viable Supreme Court on those issues. The laws have not been overturned, but we're using a different law in Texas. It's kind of like one of the ironies, Senator, is if you go to the floor debate in 2021, and if you go to the floor debate in 2011, what you'll find is that the state said they weren't required to adhere to the cases in the Fifth Circuit that required coalition seats. Okay. They said, we don't ascribe to that, so we don't do them. So if you go to the floor, and so for now, for people to come forward and say that Pettaway now frees us when you didn't follow the law prior to Pettaway anyway, they didn't create any coalition districts. They refused. We tendered districts like that for them to create, and they said because they're not one-race districts, we don't have to follow that, and that's documented part of the record.
Gotcha. So these are the most protective classes there are?
Yes.
In summary. And Mr. Chairman, Senator King, I just want to put that on record that these are protected classes. And you stated to this body multiple times that you would make sure, before bringing the bill forward, that you would make sure, sir, that the bill would be in all legal aspects to protect our body, this institution as well. And the man who fought these bills and designed these protected classes is here to say that they're not, these are protected to the utmost, they have the ultimate protection. But yet we're still going to remove them. You understand what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman?
I understand what you're saying.
And lastly, and this is the last question.
But do you want me to respond to that?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Oh,
Senator King.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I do understand what you're saying, and I really appreciate Mr. Bledsoe, and you've always been so involved in the redistricting process for as long as I can remember. I also recognize that you're an attorney representing your client, and you're making the same arguments here that you made in the pleadings that you've had before the case in San Antonio. I'm sorry, in El Paso. So I understand you're representing your client. I understand your statements. I don't agree with them. But I will say that as to the DOJ letter, which you mentioned several times, I don't agree with the substance of the DOJ letter. I've said that repeatedly throughout the process. I did not take that into consideration with this bill, with this map. In fact, that letter was not addressed to the legislature. It was addressed to the Attorney General, who responded directly to the DOJ, disagreeing with their conclusions. It was also responded by the litigation team for the Attorney General as they respond, and they filed with the filings they made before the court, three-judge panel in El Paso regarding it, and the court has ruled on that. And then it was addressed to the governor as well. And I'm assuming the governor's response to it was in part calling the legislature and putting that on, putting congressional redistricting on the call. Although I can't speak for the governor, and I can't speak for the Attorney General either. But I don't agree with the conclusions that were reported in that letter of the DOJ, and that didn't. And their letter had nothing to do with my intent or my desire to be on this committee or file this map. But I hope that answers.
Yeah. Last question.
Senator Miles.
Last question. In the 20 years that you've been fighting redistricting cases in the state of Texas, when it finally gets to the last court, have you ever lost one?
We haven't lost yet, Senator. The sad thing is in redistricting, since the passage of the Voting Rights Act, the state has been found guilty of discrimination against Latinos, African Americans every single decade.
Every single decade.
And so that's the issue here. And I would say, Senator King, one thing that's very clear is this bill does attempt to. So I don't know what your intention was, what you're saying, but you didn't draft you didn't draw up the map. So the map clearly is a manifestation of the Trump letter. And I think what Senator Miles is getting at is there should be some unpacking that goes on by this committee, and there should be a process with integrity, because we know that right now the process has no integrity because with all these public hearings and all the individuals who've talked, and there has been a lot of specific testimony. I know that's been one of the things talked about today. There's been all kinds of testimony about how, whether neighborhoods in Fort Worth are taken up, bottled up, and joined into districts in Dallas for the first time, or how districts in Dallas are cut out from the 30th district and put in another district for the first time. There's so much specific information that's actually in the record about what you do, and how, for example, the 35th, when the state put together with one of the plaintiffs' parties, the 35th district, put that forward as a minority opportunity district, got that upheld by the courts in the 2011 round, and now you destroy the 35th congressional district. So, Senator, one has got to be real serious. One can say that one did not actually try to implement the DOJ letter, but then that seems to me that is the stated purpose of this whole proceeding is to come up with these new seats, and that's what the map does. And the map drawers who drew it, I think Mr. Kincaid was involved this time again. So if Mr. Kincaid is involved, I think that indeed that you're talking about implementing the objectives of that letter.
Senator Miles.
But let's keep this in a question format. The last question I have, and this is the last question for you, Mr. Bledsoe. If we're getting the elephant out of the room, would you agree with me when I say that every case that's been brought against the state of Texas for redistricting against black and brown, the state of Texas has lost? Yes or no?
I don't know about every case, but they've lost every decade.
Every decade.
So I don't know that every single case.
But in this particular case,
yeah.
we all know the reasoning. Would you agree with me that if this map is pushed through, which is voted through, it will give Donald J. Trump the time that he needs to secure the House, U.S. House, before that case will ever see the highest court to be reversed. Do you understand what I'm asking you? Is that a true statement?
Well, I think of the distinct possibility because it takes time for cases to go
Move through the
up,
courts.
so people understand that, and so the likelihood of harm to the minority community
will be done.
Is prescient.
It will be done.
And so that's a whole problem with this map, and so. Senator, I think what we know is this is a matter of racism, right? And so I'm hoping.
Say that again?
This is a matter of racism.
Thank you.
And so I'm hoping that people understand that if you don't share the beliefs of our state from the past, that at some point people have to stand up and say that I don't believe in that maybe that I'm going to stand up for one time for black and brown people. But, we have a sordid history in our state in terms of not respecting black and brown votes, and we're moving back in the other direction, and it's so obvious with the numbers. And I just would reach out to you and say, look, would you guys put the skids on this, because this process is not done in the light of day, and let us move forward with the litigation in El Paso. We don't know what the court's going to do. We may win, we may not win. I don't know. But let's at least allow that to happen instead of going through with this process for clearly wrongful reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Bledsoe. I appreciate your testimony. Thank you, Senator King, and thank you, Chairman.
Members, any other questions? Senator King.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just had my light on.
Okay, members, we'll thank you. This panel's excused. We'll continue with our public testimony. At this time, there are no other witnesses registered to testify on the legislation on Senate Bill 4. We'll repeat some names that we have previously called just to be diligent in making sure that if they are here and miss the time that they were called, they have another opportunity, a final opportunity. Anthony Gutierrez, we were told, has already exited. Nick Malberg, Becky Bullard, Sarah Beck, John McKiernan Gonzalez, Sarah Cinco. Just one more additional opportunity beyond the several times these names have been called to make sure if you are still here, we show you as registered, but you have not yet testified. Members, we'll give them just a minute in case they're in an adjacent overflow room to join us.
That's it? Yes, sir. I need to ask you some questions to Chairman King. Okay.
I think we can close it.
Okay, members, at this time, it doesn't appear that we have any other witnesses here remaining to testify on Senate Bill 4, so public testimony will close. Members, I believe Senator Miles has an additional question or two for Senator King. Senator Miles, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Senator Miles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator King, and thank you, body, for participating and being patient. Senator King, I think some of these we may have answered around, but I'm going to ask some direct questions if you don't mind, so that we can get a clarification. And I hate to sound redundant, but this is what's necessary. Chairman King, what was your understanding of the DOJ's letter regarding redistricting?
Senator King.
Thank you. It made some assertions with regard to coalition districts, and it was, as I mentioned earlier, it was addressed to the governor and the lieutenant and the attorney general. Both have responded. It was not addressed to the legislature. The legislature has not responded, and I really don't have any response with regard to it either. I haven't talked to anybody at the DOJ. No one at the DOJ has attempted to talk to me. The letter says what it says. I disagree with it. I believe the map that the legislature passed in 2021, I believe, was legal. I don't believe it contained any of the violations, or now contains any of the violations that the DOJ suggested. And but attorneys have different opinions sometimes. I guess that's why there's trials, and these are things that attorneys argue in court. But from my position on the letter is that it's not a subject for the legislature to consider or take up.
With that said, Senator King, what was your primary objective during this whole redistricting process, as I call it? What was your objective, sir?
All right. I hope I've been very clear from the beginning. My hope was that we would increase the number of Republican congressional members elected from Texas. A secondary objective, as we listened to testimony during our regional hearings, became that we could make the map more compact in some districts. And so, but the primary objective has been to increase partisan representation, to increase Republican seats in the U.S. House.
And was compliance with the DOJ letter one of your primary objectives during the process?
I think the overriding thing is that, well, there's no use doing redistricting unless you're drawing a map that complies with the law, because the map will not survive scrutiny. And so, obviously, as I've also said, I would not file a bill until I was convinced that it was legal in all respects. And before I filed it, I had the map reviewed by our legal counsel, who has they have a long history in this field. And I also checked with the House and asked and tried to find out what their counsel had said. Mm-hmm. And I believe both the counsels representing the House and the Senate concluded that SB4 and HB4 in the House are legal under all applicable law.
And were you concerned with failure to comply with the DOJ letter would result in a legal challenge? Was that in your concern at all?
No, I haven't been concerned about that. I mean, there's already a legal challenge going on to the existing map, and the DOJ, which was a party to that litigation, had withdrawn. No, that was of no concern.
No concern. Did you consider at any time an alternative redistricting plan that did not comply with the DOJ letter?
No, I considered drafting a map, and I wondered if other senators might submit a map. But when I saw the House map, I'm obviously aware of its origin. When I saw the House map and we reviewed it, it seemed to meet my objectives of electing more Republicans and secondary objective of improving compactness within the map. And so I decided to adopt it, as it were, and filed it as a companion to HB4.
And last question, I'm assuming you were reporting to the Lieutenant Governor on this, correct? That's who you got your...
Well, the Lieutenant Governor is the presiding officer of the Senate, and he asked me if I would be interested in chairing the committee, and so I've interacted with him in the same manner that every chair interacts with the presiding officer.
Yeah. Did you express any concern about the potential of racial gerrymandering or intentional discrimination while attempting to comply with the DOJ letter to the Lieutenant Governor? Did y'all have any discussion in that matter? Gerrymandering?
I think I mentioned to him that I thought the DOJ letter unnecessarily confused this process.
You thought the DOJ letter confused the process?
Yes.
You expressed that with him?
I think in discussing it with him, I've mentioned that the DOJ letter I thought unnecessarily confused the redistricting process. And
can you share his response with us?
To be honest, I don't recall.
I recall. Okay. All right. So that's all I've got except for a closing.
Members, any other questions? Senator King, any final
I was just going to
comments?
say that I can tell you that he told me he wanted to, that one of the reasons he wanted me to chair it is because I had some background in redistricting, but also he wanted to make sure that every T was crossed and every I was dotted.
Well, I think I can share this with you. I've already told you. If I had to pick anyone, he picked the right one for to chair this committee.
Well, thank you,
Senator King. I've expressed that with you already.
Okay, members, any other comments or feedback? If not, we'll call for a vote at this time. Senator Miles for his closing.
Let me close.
You're recognized.
And then I'll let y'all vote. Let me thank each and every one of my colleagues for being patient with me throughout this process. As I stated before, this is having a serious impact on the district that I was born and raised in, and I have an honor and a pleasure of representing. 3 of them, 3 districts. One of which still stands, which you packed pretty heavily. One of which you've done away with completely. And one on my east side that the little small piece that I had that y'all moved completely out of my district. So I'm truly saddened, but I guess at this point I should not be shocked by the fact that my colleagues, you all, have openly embraced an invitation to engage in an overt racism, mindful of our sordid history of disenfranchising people who look like me, members. The Trump DOJ letter asks you to discriminate against black and brown people, not against Democrats. And we're sitting here because, unfortunately, sadly to me, painful to me, you agreed to do it. You, in drawing this map, eliminates 2 districts where people who look like me voted to elect people who look like me in the 9th and the 33rd. You took the 35th from a Latino community, which is a little bitty sliver of mine. Let's be real. You cannot keep saying the process is race blind when it affects black and brown communities so drastically this is all about race. You have packed and cracked our districts so much that they look like Humpty Dumpty. These lines are not cohesive or straight. All you have done is gerrymandered the already gerrymandered districts. And that's what really happened. We were already gerrymandered, and y'all came in and gerrymandered them even more, which is downright just a shame and disrespectful. I want you to know, and I mean no personal harm to any one of you. I mean no personal hatred to any one of you, but I got to say this. History will remember, the people of Texas will remember how torn through communities of interest and disfranchisement for black and brown voters. You have joined the night riders, the plantation owners, in seeking to make people of color lesser because we don't have a voice. I want you to think about that as you go home tonight. Let's say the quiet part out loud. President Trump is a racist, and the leadership of this state and the members of this community are following the marching orders to get him 5 more seats. That was said publicly. That's unconstitutional and unconscionable. It really is, no matter how you feel about it. The state of Texas went to the U.S. Supreme Court 5 times in 26 years to stop people who look like me. 5 times the state of Texas have gone in 26 years to stop people who look like me and Chairman Hinojosa, black and brown citizens, from voting in this rigged redistricting is simply a continuation of a bigoted mindset. I know y'all don't like what you're hearing, but it's clear that, especially in sitting through this hearing, that you all do not care what the public says. You are just going along to get along for the good president of this United States. These seats don't belong to Donald J. Trump. He doesn't own anything. And we should not be auctioned off our votes to get him 5 more seats, Mr. Chairman. These seats belong to the people of Texas, the great state of Texas. This is a farce. This is racism. This is discriminatory. And I will not take part in it. I will not give any ballot by voting on this, Mr. Chairman. So when you take your vote, clerk, please call Boris Miles' name. And there will be an there'll be silence, because I will not be voting on this. And I thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Miles. Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator Miles, I really appreciate the fact when I called you and to talk about serving on the committee, and you told me from day one that you would be strong in your opinions and that you would do what you believed was in the best interest of representing your district. And I have nothing but respect and friendship for you, even though we strongly disagree on this issue. I will say that time will tell whether this map elects more or less people of color. I actually have no idea which it will do. I will say that the reason I'm supporting this map is because I think the things that have occurred with the current Republican Congress and Republican Senate and Republican President, even just over the last 7 months, have been historic. And I want those to continue. And if we lose the Republican House, it will not continue. Just look at the secure border we now have. Just look at the tremendous progress in stopping the flow of deadly fentanyl, something that's the leading killer of people, I think, 18 to 35 across our country. The historic tax cuts were continued. We're seeing an amazing reset of the world trade imbalance. Our military is back in the business of national security and not social experiments. We're standing up to Iran and to China and to Russia. We're seeing an end to men and boys in women and girls sports. We're seeing a pushback against the rampant anti-Semitism that we saw on our college campuses. We're deporting dangerous criminal aliens, Venezuela gangs, and people with child molesters and rapists and drug dealers that had come over within all the other immigrants over the previous 4 years. I tell you, I was in law enforcement when Castro opened the prisons in 1980, and we had an estimated 10,000 hardcore criminals that came across. And in law enforcement, it took us years. I've dealt with some of them in Fort Worth. It took us years to work those through the system and get them out of the public. And we have let hundreds of thousands of hardcore criminal aliens come across in the last 4 years. And my grandchildren will be dealing with the impact of that, and for public safety in our country. I could go on, but these are things that have occurred in just the last now 8 months. And if we lose the U.S. House, we lose the continuation of those and the advancement of things like that. And so that's why I want to see Texas elect more Republicans to the U.S. House. I believe this map does that. And that's why I am asking the committee respectfully to vote for this map. With that, I also want to say I really appreciate, I know everybody's worked really hard in the last few weeks, and we've had a lot of hearings and a lot of discussions, and I just really appreciate everybody, Republican and Democrat, their courtesy, how we've shown respect to one another, and I know everybody has had to study hard because these are difficult issues, and I just really appreciate everyone on the committee, your participation and your effort.
Okay, members, any other comments? Thank you, Senator King. Appreciate your comments, Senator Miles. Senator Sparks moves that Senate Bill 4 be reported favorably to the full Senate with the recommendation that it do pass and be printed. The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Alvarado, Senator Hinojosa, Senator Hughes,
Yes.
Senator Miles, Senator Parker, Senator Paxton, Senator Sparks, Senator Creighton,
Aye.
Senator King.
Aye.
And I would ask, as chair, the clerk would please recognize that Senator Hinojosa has submitted a motion in writing to vote no on this legislation, but the official count in committee
Will be six.
will be 6 ayes
One nay,
and 1 nay.
one absent, one present.
1 absent and 1 present not voting.
Hand it back off to Senator King.
Chairman, I'll hand the gavel back to you to conclude the hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Creighton, for handling the hearing today. The practice in the Senate is if it's the chair's bill, then you turn the chairmanship over to the vice chair to conduct the hearing. Members, again, thank you, everybody, for your time today. Thanks to all the public who testified. Thanks to everyone who was watching online. I'm sure we had comments through the portal, and we thank you for each of those. Members, is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, Senator Hughes moves that the committee stand in recess, subject to the call of the chair. Thank you, everyone.